Hello, everyone. I'm Ann McKinney.
And I'm Victoria Tillman.
We're the law firm of McKinney and Tillman, and we're here to talk you through our wonderful little booklet called What My Family Should Know. In my deep, dark past, I worked for the Internal Revenue Service, and I couldn't understand why people weren't organized and why they didn't have all their paperwork and why they didn't have everything put together well. And then I got into the real world decades ago, and I realized that we are all busy surviving, and that's why we're not terribly organized all the time. Right now, we're in a crisis mode. We are focused on surviving, and we want to help you. If you're homebound and you're twiddling your thumbs and you're tired of Dr. Phil, I don't know if that's possible for my husband, but if you're tired of Dr. Phil, we have something for you. We have this little booklet called What My Family Should Know. It's a great resource. It's a gift, not necessarily for you, but for the people you love. Right, Victoria?
Absolutely. And several years ago, my father had a stroke. And when my stepmom and I tried to help him, we soon realized we didn't have any information. And his memory, of course, was affected by the stroke. And so all he could remember was an attorney he had used a long time ago when we lived in the state of New York. And I knew he had a more recent attorney. But we didn't have that information, so we really were struggling to help him. Thankfully, he recovered from his stroke, and I sat down with him and I said, Dad, you have got to fill out what my family should know. I said, even if you don't give it to me, I said, I need you to fill it out, put it aside where I can find it if something happens. Well, my dad did pass away 4 years ago, and we found in his dresser what my family should know. He had filled it out, and literally my stepmom and I sat down at the kitchen table, went through the booklet. We were able to contact important people. We knew the information we needed. It made his administration so much smoother because we had that information. It is very important.
So we want to get right to it. We want to walk you through the booklet. On the website, passitonwell.com, you can go there, and the booklet is in the free resources section. It's downloadable, it's fill-outable, so if you don't physically have a booklet, you got two choices. Go to the web and download it and fill it out. Call us up. We'll sanitize the outside of it. We'll sanitize the envelope and we'll mail it to you. But the booklet is easy to understand. You look at it, you put your full legal name. We like to know what's the name that you want to show on your legal documents. How should we reflect your full legal name? Then we put the date and your address and people to notify in an emergency. Really critical now. Very critical now. So we want cell phone numbers, contact information, and so on. Then on the second page, we have information that might be needed if you should pass away. When someone dies, the funeral home, the people who help immediately want certain information. They want the date of birth. They want where they were born. They want to know mother's name, father's name. They want to know social security number. The social security number is really important. If you get it wrong, the IRS goes into a tailspin and all sorts of bad things happen. So there's information that you need to help your family with by filling out the background information that we ask for on page 2. Then we have information about physical identification. If you have a birthmark, if you have a tattoo, etc., it's good to put it there. Marital information, and you might wonder, why do we want to know about those divorces? And the answer to that is that sometimes when people get divorced, they make promises that go beyond the grave. I, soon-to-be ex-husband, do hereby promise to keep in full force and effect all the life insurance that's on my life right now. Well, if he dies years later, then we may not know what the company was, how much it was. We may not know the details, and he may have changed the beneficiary contrary to the divorce decree, which happens, doesn't it, Victoria?
It does. And another important thing to have listed in that marital information is different names. We have, especially our female clients who marry, take on a name, they divorce, they change their name, they marry again, take on a new name, and sometimes some of those old names stick. And it's important for us to know all the different names that our clients have gone by in case some of the assets are still listed in those older names.
That's right. So we encourage you, much as you might not enjoy it, to look at your divorce decrees and put them in your stack of important documents if they have any relevance to your current situation. Then we have medical information. If you have a stroke, if you're in an accident, we need to know, do you have accident insurance? Do you have, who's your treating physician? Who's your dentist, eye specialist, etc.? We need medical details, especially if you're vulnerable in some way, and we need to communicate that with healthcare professionals. Then we have family records. If any of you have ever had to do an obituary, you know that you're stressed, you've lost somebody you care about, now all of a sudden you have to put all that important information in an obit, and if you forget Aunt Mossy in White Pine, they're never going to forgive you, she'll never forget it. You have to get it right. So we want you to help your family members and put family record information and other close relatives. If you've had military service, we need to know about that. There are certain benefits that are really important for the military.
That's right. And if we don't know that, or your family doesn't know that, they may not know where to search for it. But they also need important information: your number and when you served, the time period you served. And this is also important because there are certain benefits you can get if you served in active duty in Vietnam. If there's the cause of death may be due to cancer, then these are important pieces of information your family could benefit from.
Military folks often refer back to the DD-214.
Okay.
That's the form. And so we encourage our clients to make sure that that's in their stack of important records. Then we want to know your educational background. This is mainly for the obituary, for the family to know about religious and professional organizations and that sort of thing. Then we come to page 8, which is personal, employment, and business information. People pass away and their family members may not know that they still have a group life insurance policy with a former employer. So we need to know about that kind of information. What benefits do you participate in? Give them some hints about how to make a claim for those benefits.
This is really important. If you worked a long, long time ago for a company that had a pension, and even though you haven't been there in years, that pension still may be effective for you. So if you list your employers, your previous employers, then they can know to check to see if there's maybe some type of employment benefit or pension that's still there and available for your family.
So pages 8 and 9 cover those issues. Then on page 10, we have your professional advisors, and because we put the booklet together, we put the attorney first. But who's your attorney? Who's your accountant? Very important people. I love our accountants. Executor, insurance agent, your financial advisor or stockbroker. To whom have you given power of attorney? Because we may need to get in contact with that person who has your health care power or your financial power if you can't communicate to us. Then we go to the information that nobody ever wanted to talk about back when I was in the IRS. I thought they didn't tell me their business because I was the revenuer, and you don't tell the revenuer your business. Well, I've been in private practice a very long time, and I've learned that people in East Tennessee don't tell anybody their business. That's how they got where they are. That's right, it's private. Well, for the people who may need to help you, if you've had a stroke or you're disabled, they need to know the sources of income, your liabilities, where are the documents located, what have you done to prepare them for paying your bills and handling your finances if you can't communicate. On page 12, we talk about the personal and financial information in more depth, the bank accounts, the safe deposit box. Yeah. If you have a safe deposit box, you've got to tell people. You've got to tell them 2 things. I have a box, it's located at this bank, and here's where the keys are hidden away. Because if you hide them too well, the family has to pay to have the box re-drilled, and that's no fun.
Also, there's a place where you can include your insurance policies. This is very important. I know several years ago when Nashville had its big flood, I was driving out of Nashville toward Knoxville, and all I could think of is, I'm going to die on I-40, and my husband will not know what insurance policies I have. And I've been paying all these years to benefit him, but he won't know. So I came home and made sure I filled out what my family should know and listed those policies so that he knew who was holding those policies, how much they were, what, who the beneficiaries were, of course, which were him. But anyways, that type of information. Information about your real estate. Information about your securities. Some people have a loosely held stock, maybe Apple stock, or perhaps stock that they received from a parent a long time ago in Walmart.
And they love that certificate.
Yeah.
They don't want to give the certificate to a broker and have it in street name. Problem is, we have to know where that certificate is.
Right.
I mean, if you have them not in street name form, but actually in certificate form, we have to jump through more hoops.
So it's important that you let your family know that you have that certificate and where it's located so that we can help them to collect on it. Very important, this next one on page 15. Logins, password, PIN numbers. And I know they change, but these are very important. My dad was an online kind of guy. He was ahead of his time.
He was.
He liked to check his numbers but he had everything, of course, password protected. That was another hindrance that we had when he had this stroke. We didn't know those that information, how to get on to his online accounts. And so we had him write those down. It was very beneficial to us, and especially to my stepmom. Even before he passed away, when he would forget his numbers, they could go back to what my family should know and look at those to help him access his accounts.
Before we go further, I want to make 2 comments. Back on page 13, Homeowners Insurance. If you pass away, your family members, or if you still own the house, your family members will be needing to contact your homeowners, the company that's insuring your home, to let them know that you've passed away, to let them know that they're checking on the residence, that they're not leaving it vacant and totally unattended, so you're sure that you still have coverage even though the tenant has died. So you need to help them to find the contact information for your homeowners. The other thing that sometimes causes a lot of angst among our clients is how you're going to dispose of your jewelry, your china, your artwork. If you have made a list of the things that you want to go to certain people, don't hide it too well. Don't communicate it, put it in the booklet, tell them, I have an inventory of my valuable things, and these are the things that I want done with those items, and I think it's not a bad idea to caution your family members not to fight over those little things, or you'll come back and haunt them. So,
and you would be amazed. That's usually what they fight over.
Yeah, it's crazy what they fight over.
A lot of our clients have digital assets. So I'm talking about frequent flyer miles, bonus points or reward points with their credit card. And you want to make sure that you let your family know about that. Well, that was one of the things I thought about, Ann, as I was making list of my assets, that my credit card gets cash reward. And I certainly wouldn't want to leave a couple $100 on the table, but my family may not know that they need to contact the credit card company and have those moved over to my bank account. So you definitely want to let your family know if you have those type of assets, because they're not readily known just by looking at the house.
Right. Then we come to page 16. Where is your will? The will that's important is the original that you signed, that the witnesses signed. Because as we said in another video, the signing process has to be done very strictly in accordance with law. So copies you can keep anywhere, but the original needs to be in a safe location, either in a lockbox. We will store your originals for you. We keep you in a database. We charge $15 a year to do it. Or you can keep it at home. You just need to tell your family members where it is, particularly the people that you've named as executors under your will. You need to let them know who the attorney is who drafted the will. We put our name on everything, so if it's our will, it's going to say McKinney and Tillman. But some lawyers don't, and it's often important for them to be able to contact the attorney who drafted the document. And if you've made any changes to your will, that's called a codicil, you need to tell us about that. At the bottom of page 16 is the boat registrations, the car registrations, your income tax returns. If you die in the beginning of the year, there's this big government organization that doesn't know that you've passed away and doesn't care. And they want a tax return, and they want it by April 15th, or even sooner if it's a business return. So you need to tell your family members where those records are and who your accountant is so they can get started taking care of those obligations.
Absolutely. It's always better to be able to use the accountant you've been using for years than to try to recreate the wheel, especially in that stressful time if somebody's passed away. If you have a trust, you need to have indicated in here where you have stored your trust document and the documents that relate to the trust. Also, your living will, your powers of attorney. Very important that your family know that A, you have those documents, but B, where they're stored, especially the healthcare power of attorney. That's the document you need in an emergency. And the last thing you want is somebody hunting it down in your house when they really need to be at the hospital with you.
We have calls from people who are going to the hospital. They couldn't find the living will or the advanced care plan or the power of attorney for health care. We will fax those documents to the hospital. We keep copies in our file. But you don't want to be in that stressful situation. You also want to communicate to your family members your personal end-of-life decisions. So they know these are choices you've made. You don't want that burden on their shoulders. That's an enormous gift that you can give them, is to let them know that it's your choice. Then we have funeral service instructions and information. I want the pictures. I want music. I've picked the music that I want them to play, and it's Beach Boys and Creedence Clearwater and the Beatles, and there's going to be a little note that I picked it all out, but people know that these are the things that I want to do. If you have certain preferences, you want to be cremated, you want to have a service, you don't want an open casket,
you want to be buried in your flannel pajamas.
I haven't thought about that. But anyway, I personally went to see the movie Palms with the law firm. We shut the doors and all the girls went to see the movie Palms, P-O-M-S. And in that movie, they referred to someone who was cremated and the cremains were shot up in fireworks. That's what I want. That's what I want. Pyro Shows, Inc. in Tennessee is the place to go for that. I researched it when I got back to the office. Anyway, this is the place. Page 18 is where you put that information about what you care about. Certainly, if you have prepaid folks, tell your family members where that paperwork is. Tell them that you've done it so they don't go off and buy a burial plot and spend money that you've already invested in. So, and then of course we have relatives and friends who should be notified, and that's on page 20.
And that's very important because maybe there's somebody your family wouldn't have thought about who needs to know that you've passed away and when your funeral is. So that's always important to list that information.
And put us first. Oh, we want to know when someone we love is gone. And sometimes we don't hear about it for, a significant time. So please let us know. We have a glossary of terms on page 21, and then we have notes. I am so fond of the pages 22, 23, 24 in this booklet because years ago I got a phone call from the daughter of a client of ours, and she said, Mrs. McKinney, you don't know me. She said, but I have in my hand this booklet called What My Family Should Know. And she said, on these pages of notes, my dad, in his own handwriting, wrote each of us children a personal note about his fondest memories, about the things that he loved the best about us, thanking us for being such a wonderful blessing to him all his life. And she said, of everything in this notebook, that is the greatest gift. So while you're there, homebound, turn off the TV, go to the website, download our What My Family Should Know booklet, and get to work. Your family will thank you.
Yes, they will. We are
McKinney and Tillman. Pass it on.